All right, welcome to Ladies Night, everyone. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Nancy Hayes. Nancy is a longtime professional in Chicago's entertainment scene. She's a talented singer, dancer, and actress who has owned and operated her own entertainment company for decades. She has deep family ties to the South Side, and an incredible story that blends her love for Chicago sports and her passion for the arts. And so we're going to chat about her family's connections to the White Sox, her goal of singing the national anthem at Comiskey Park, and her incredible project on the legendary jockey Isaac Murphy. So, welcome, Nancy, to the Ladies Night podcast.
Thank you.
So
I'm
excited
thrilled
to
to
have
be here.
Yes, thank you for making the time to come and chat with all of us. I think you have such a fascinating and interesting background, connecting with the White Sox, and then a very special passion project. So we're just going to jump right in and start chatting. So you have been an entertainer in Chicago for decades. Can you share a little bit with us about your entertainment company and some of the memorable events that you've been a part of?
Sure. Well, I should probably start at the beginning because it'll tell you the origin of why I'm first and foremost a White Sox fan, but I also like the Cubs for certain reasons, partially because of my family ties. And I'll explain that. I grew up in Champaign, Urbana. My father, both of my parents were orphans, but my dad was raised by his older brother. And he went to high school at Hyde Park High School, and he loved baseball. It was his absolute favorite sport. And he would draw analogies in life to everything baseball, and he adored the White Sox. So my father would listen to them on the radio. But when he got his first big job after he had been in the Korean War, he's a doctor and an internal medicine doctor and allergist. It was at the Carl Clinic in Champaign, Urbana. And that's where he and my mom started their family. And the only thing we could get baseball wise on TV were the Cubs. So my dad was a Chicago fan and he allowed his kids to gather around and he knew I was obsessed with singing. And Johnny Frigo, who I would later work with and who wrote a song for me, wrote the theme song, Hey Hey Holy Mackerel, for the Cubs. So I also
Oh,
loved some of
cool.
that music and some of the Steve Goodman music and some of that. But going back to my youth, as a Champaign-Urbana kid, I didn't have all the great exposure to Chicago theater. So I auditioned for summer programs, mostly at theme parks. And I went from Champaign to University of Illinois for college. And then I went down to Opryland, USA, and was in their theme park summer program and sang country music songs there. And then from there, I was doing recording, demos. I had a country band, and I graduated college and went on the road for 2 years singing, but then competed in the Miss Illinois pageant and won the talent portion of the Miss Illinois pageant. And what I got from it was scholarships. So I was told you have to use this for school. So I came to Chicago to go to Northwestern to get my graduate degree. And that's when I fell in love with my husband, who is another die-hard Sox fan. So even though my, young years, I was like, watching Cubs on TV, I married this guy we lived only 2 blocks from Wrigley Field, and all he wanted to do was watch Sox games. It was crazy. So anyway, I started to love the Sox because my husband was a season ticket holder and had 12th row above the dugout seats. And so we only had two of them. So each family member, we had 4 kids, got to trade off going to the games and got to see the big heyday of the World Series. So now I didn't answer your question though about my entertainment firm, but I got a little bit in about the White Sox and the Cubs. And then one other thing about the Cubs is that because we only lived like a block or two from Wrigley Field on the night
Mhm.
of the Cubs World Series victory, I went to the corner of Addison and Clark with my daughter, and Phil Rogers interviewed me at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was one of the top people that was on TV.
Oh, how fun.
You can see a YouTube video of it. I'm standing there and they're interviewing me. It was weird. It was just weird. So you ask another question because I didn't talk to you about my entertainment company, but I certainly can so that I tie that in a little bit to your interview. So I get off on tangents.
No, that's okay. No, it's just such a cool story. So like what so because you have and my son is kind of like this, like I mean, I'm a diehard White Sox fan, my husband's a diehard Cubs fan, and so he likes both teams, which is kind of an anomaly for people. There's this whole like Twitter war not too long ago about people saying like you can't root for both teams and things like that. And so how do you define yourself as a fan? Do you just define yourself as like a Chicago baseball fan, or what do you think?
My father was my personal hero, and my dad was an optimist, even though he had a horrible disease for 15 years before he passed away. It was always the glass is half full. So you're rooting for Chicago. So if you're
Okay.
in Champaign and you're a kid, little kid like my brother, and that's, the Cubs are on. And my father's ultimate goal, and it never happened, he passed away. But I asked him, Dad, what's your bucket list? He said, Nancy, my dream come true would be a World Series. I'll start to cry if I talk about it between the
Oh
Cubs and the
no,
White Sox because you're a winner either way and you're a Chicago fan.
that's
That's probably
true.
in heaven what he's watching. If someday, hopefully, he'll get to have that as his field of dreams. So how could I be disloyal to my dad and say anything negative about any Chicago baseball team? Sorry, I got
Yeah.
emotional.
No, it's that that to me is what the great thing about baseball or sports is those family connections, right? Like the so many people that I talk to and bring on this podcast, you talk about why are you a fan and that and it like 99.9% of the time it's because of those familial connections, and that's what makes win or lose it a special thing because it's tied to like so many cool and intimate memories in our life. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I get it too. I get it too. My stepdad it took me to my very first White Sox game when I was 11 years old, and he's no longer with us either, and he didn't get to see the World Series and things. And so, I often think about that. That I'm really fortunate that I did get to experience that, but also you missed that person that you shared it with as well. But you're grateful for them as well to giving you that whole experience. So
Yes.
it's
And as my husband had these incredible seats, I would sit there in those seats for the White Sox and I'd think, wish my dad could be sitting right where I'm sitting, but a part of him is. I'm here
yeah,
and I'm watching this. And my dad always used analogies from baseball. It was his favorite sport, but he also made it a life thing. So like I was a performer, I was a singer, dancer, songwriter, entertainer, really tough business. And I would say to my dad, I tried out for that, I didn't get it, I've been rejected for this. And he'd say, the best the best batters in baseball don't even bat 500, Dan. It's fine.
yeah,
They're winners. They're all-stars. Go back out there. You're going to get the next one. And he would always use these baseball analogies. And he was a brilliant man. Like he way before the whole Moneyball thing, my dad would be sitting there. My brother and I talk about it. He'd be like, yeah, that guy's going to go here and then that's going to happen. And if they don't bring that, if he doesn't hit this way into that, I mean, he had so studied the game and he was such a brilliant man that I just thought, man, I admire that so much because it is a game of strategy and it is a game of talent and team. And there's not anything like it. There's really no other sport quite like baseball. And so, of course, I love it. But I spent my life as an entertainer and then I started an entertainment firm in 1993. We have four children. Our daughter had some health problems when she was born, our oldest, which was made me want to leave the company where I was at and be home more and have more flexibility. And then we had two boys and another girl. And so I was able to work out of my home long before that was even COVID or whatever. And I had clients that would book entertainment, big corporate clients. So Nancy Faust was a person who played the organ. I used to bring her in to a lot of corporate events and she'd play. I love her. She's amazing. She's still
she
playing.
is.
Um, but I produced a lot of really big name talent. Everyone from Earth, Wind, and Fire to some really great comedians like Jim Gaffigan, et cetera, for my corporate clients. So I have this entertainment firm, still have it, and then I would be able to have those clients and then produce and then sing myself and take some independent, a gig here, working with this band there. And I got to open for a lot of really big names. I opened for Ronnie Millsap, Conway Twitty, a lot of really important country music folks. And I got to work at the Holiday Star Plaza. I don't know if you know where that is, but I was an opening act for several artists there. Glenn Campbell, really great artists that I got to work with. So I was singing. I was a mom going to baseball games, and I had an entertainment firm. And
Oh
then
my
I
goodness.
started a whole dance series. So I worked at the Willowbrook Ballroom, and I was always a singer for dancers. So I have an entire line of products that teach people how to ballroom dance, which leads me to my next performance at Grant Park. If you like
Oh,
to
cool.
foxtrot, swing, tango waltz, or cha-cha rumba, I'm singing with an orchestra at Grant Park on August 16th, which is a week from Saturday. Spirit of the Music Garden, just south of the Art Institute. And my son Matthew will be playing violin on a couple tunes, and my daughter Mary will sing with me on a song or two. But it's a 10-piece band, free swing lesson from 6 to 7 p.m. And then I sing with the orchestra from 7 to 9. And it's all people that like to dance, they like to come out and swing dance. I have instruction on how to tango and waltz, how to cha-cha rumba salsa, how to country line dance, and even how to dance for your wedding if you're planning a wedding and you want to learn the dance. So I have all these products that are for people that like to social dance, like line dancing. And one of my songs, my line dance song, Come Dance With Me, is a giant worldwide hit. Now, if you Google this, you won't see me singing it. You'll see football fields of people in Asia, Germany, France dancing to it because it is one of the most popular line dance songs literally in the globe. They did a flash mob of it at the Great Wall of China. So my
Oh,
whole life has kind of been like singing for dancers in country music and in ballroom dancing or Great American Songbook. So I do that too.
wow, you are like you're throwing names of my like childhood out there, like Ronnie Millsap and Grand Old or the Opryland. I went to Opryland. Like my parents listened to all of that, so now I
Did?
listen to all of that. And my kids like, I mean, my daughter I know has a Ronnie Millsap song on her playlist too. So like that's so cool. Like what an eclectic, wonderful background that you've had.
So I mentioned I was in Nashville. Between when I was having kids, I was a recording artist for songwriters. So I recorded 40 songs that they were pitching to people like Shania Twain and Reba McEntire. And a lot of the songs that I did the demos for got cut by those big artists. But I worked with a lot of really big, there's Ronnie up here. I was his opening act, and he gave me his producer, his engineer is my producer. He still is, Randy Gardner. And this is Glenn and Kenny Rogers. And my album, I have a vinyl album, and I wrote 8 of the 16 songs on here, but it's all fabulous Country Music Hall of Fame musicians from Nashville that are on the recording. You can get on my website at nancyhayes.com, which is Hayes without an E. But it's really just it's my passion. I don't have any illusions of fame. I just really enjoy making great music with people that I love. And so I have that going on. I've done 6 tours of the United Kingdom. So my last one was last October, November. And the song is so popular in England that people come to festivals just to hear the song. And then I was on WGN. If anybody Googles that, they'll see I was on Spotlight Chicago and Daytime Chicago promoting my songs in country music. So I've got the country music thing, and then I've got the big band ballroom dancing thing. And then I have my Writing for America project, which you talked about at the beginning, which is something else I'm really passionate about.
And you clearly shared your love of the arts with your children too, because you mentioned that your daughter and your son will be with you next Saturday at Grant Park. So yeah, it must run in the family, right?
Well, if people want to check it out, our son Eddie is a filmmaker. So there had to be
Oh,
one person behind the camera. But when we had everybody home at Christmas, few years ago, like 2017. We shot a music video called Mr. Santa in front of our fireplace. My son Matt's playing violin. My two girls are dancing with me and singing, and Eddie was running the camera. And it's a very cute little video, and it shows our whole family enjoying music together. I'm really proud of that. And then I have another music video which came out last year starring my younger daughter Caroline, who's quite the actress, and she's young and cute. So I'm just in the background playing my guitar. I let her be the actress. It's called Heart Like a Train, which is my, the title track of this album, Heart Like a Train. And it was filmed, Melissa, at metro stations in Edison Park and Norwood Park. But it looks like Georgia or Tennessee. It's really cool. It's a cool video. It's called Heart Like a Train by Nancy Hayes. I hope they'll check that out. But yeah. So yeah, the Writing for America project is my latest project. It doesn't really have much to do with me as an artist. It has to do with my passion for sports, my passion for Chicago history and sports, and my hope and prayer that youth will be motivated by learning about something most youth don't know about, which is that Black jockeys started horse racing in America and were the first jockeys to win the Kentucky Derby and, the first American Derby, which was a giant, the American Derby. So we're talking about America's first Derby was held at Washington Park in Chicago. Most people don't know that. And the Roundhouse, which still exists, it's the DuSable Museum of African American History, was the original stables, and it was designed by Daniel Burnham. And a lot of urban kids are confused by this. They don't have any idea that there was horse racing and that there was a Black jockey. He won in 1884, 85, 86. His best friend, Anthony Hamilton, who was also Black, won in 87, and then he came back and won in 88. Imagine that. All different 3-year-old horses.
Wow.
Same jockey. He was the Michael Jordan of
Yeah.
Chicago sports at that point in Chicago's history. And can you believe it? There's not even a plaque inside the DuSable Museum about this athlete. I have no idea why, but I'm hoping to change that narrative if I can.
Yeah. So how did you become interested in it? Like, how did it come to your attention, that, there was this rich history there and that a lot of people had no idea?
So this is the only existing photograph of teenage Isaac Burns Murphy. It came from the Yale archives. On the back here of the book, which is coming out in the fall, you can see this is from the Library of Congress, but this is a Black mother who was a slave and her son dancing. And his mother's name was America. So people think, oh, writing for America is about the country, but it's not. He was writing for the sacrifices of his mother and how she raised him to be a man of integrity, to love literature, to love and learn how to be a great human being, and then be a great sports icon, which is what he grew up to be. To answer your question, I produce events. I mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So just as fate would have it, I was producing a very large entertainment event for one of my corporate clients at the Kentucky Derby Museum in Louisville in 2019. And it's a fabulous museum. It's really fun. There's ladies' hats, and then there's a training room, and there's a great big race that you go in and watch on a screen. But the band was playing, and there was all this wonderful activity, and I walked upstairs, and there was a dark, dimly lit gallery, and it said, "The History of Horse Racing in America, the story of the African-American jockey." I was like, what? I didn't even know there were Black jockeys. I've never seen one. So I walked in, and I learned on these placards, 13 of the first 15 jockeys in the first Kentucky Derby were all Black. They were all sons of slaves. And 16 of the first 28 Kentucky Derbies in America were won by Black riders. And Black riders were brilliant and great strategists. And they didn't whip the horses, and they were kind to the horses, and they had a relationship with the horses. And they eliminated them from the sport during the Jim Crow era. They were not even allowed to be parts of jockey clubs. This is prior to Jackie Robinson. And I believe that horse racing may have waned a lot because it's not about the jockey and the horse anymore as much as it's the trainer or the owner. And so a lot of particularly minority kids don't see themselves in that sport.
Right.
And so Isaac Murphy was the most incredible. I mean, what he overcame. His mother was a slave. She taught him how to read and write and appreciate literature to escape in his mind from the horrors of slavery. His father joined the colored troops at Fort Nelson in Lexington and died during the Civil War, fighting for freedom. That in and of itself makes him an incredible legacy.
Yeah.
After the Civil War, his mother had nothing, and she went to Lexington. She lost all of her money that she had saved in Freeman's Bank, which is a bank that went up, belly up, that was Congress had, that's a whole nother story. But she apprenticed him to a black trainer named Eli Jordan, who trained two Hall of Fame jockeys. There's not even a photograph anywhere of Eli Jordan or America Murphy. They're both in unmarked graves. But there was a huge part of Lexington and the horse race industry that has died in America as a result of racism. And so maybe it's time to really reclaim that history.
Sure.
And to once again bring light to the true history of the sport. And that's my goal.
And so, yeah, so you were at that museum, you saw that, you were intrigued by that. And then, I mean, of course, the connection to Chicago just makes it all the cooler because, growing up in Illinois and living in the area and things that, it's a real opportunity because, Chicago is obviously a very big, popular area to educate and bring some attention to his story and his mother's story. And so that's what you're doing because not only it's a book, but you're trying to bring it to the youth too in the Chicago area. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you're hoping
Yeah,
to share
yeah.
that story with the youth?
So to continue where I was, back in 2019, I came back and I was really discouraged because I didn't see any representation of these black jockeys except on this second floor gallery. So I wrote to the museum and I said, can you move that downstairs where it's more prominent? I started a petition. I talked to the archivist and not much happened. Then the George Floyd thing happened. Then the COVID happened. And my son, who's a screenwriter, the one that did the Mr. Santa video, was home. And I said, Eddie, you're such a great writer. This is a great American story. Can you help me to write a screenplay about this amazing athlete? And that's when he uncovered all the information about the American Derby and his tie to Chicago, which was so profound. Isaac Murphy had a house in Chicago. And so Eddie and I worked on this screenplay, which also became a stage play, which we did a staged reading for in 2022, but it has 15 actors. And Melissa, making this film is a $40 million film. It's like Seabiscuit. It's not going to be easy to make for two people that don't have the connections. So what I have done is the screenplay's out there. It's been adapted into this young adult novel. So that's basically the screenplay in a book form for youth. And then the Chicago Public Schools were interested in me coming in, and I did that in 2024 with a very small presentation of just a lecture and then a black actor portraying Isaac. That was successful. And then we got an Illinois Arts Grant through the generosity of Freedom Hall, which is a theater in Park Forest. And I've been able to have another actress who's playing America, who's a playwright, who's now joined our team, and then a cinematographer. So what we have right now is a community and school program that would be wonderful for classrooms, auditoriums, very affordable. That's what we're marketing right now. And I'm going to a Chicago Public School back to school night tomorrow, hoping to talk to teachers. I mean, it's really just one teacher at a time. It's harder than I thought to get many schools on board. So if you have any educators that might be interested or know, but we're working at it. We're making progress, but it's not easy.
Right, right.
But I won't give up. I'm going to keep working and working and working because this is my passion project. I feel like it's what I need to do before I die. Like I've got to get the story out. And Eddie's screenplay is beautiful. It's a great tribute to his mom and to Isaac, and I'm just really proud of it.
We're going to take a really quick break and hold that thought
Okay.
because you should be really proud of it. It's really amazing. To our listeners, hold on tight. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with Nancy Hayes. All right, told you it was me quick. We're back already. So you have the screenplay, you have the book, you're going to talk to teachers. Like what is your like goal? What do you want young readers to take away from reading it? Or, when you've been able to hopefully get into more schools and they actually can see it and, interact with it. What are you hoping that those young folks are going to get out of this story?
I think they're going to understand the true history of horse racing in America and have a whole new appreciation for the jockey, who doesn't get a lot of attention right now and should.
Mhm.
That's one thing. I think Chicago's the right place to do it because there's not that many tourists that go to Lexington. And this is a big sports town. And quite frankly, with the Obama Library right there, the DuSable Museum, and all the White Sox and the great rich history, this would be a great tourist attraction. It could be expanded into restaurants and dance halls. And I mean, in the story, there's lots of really great cultural stuff that could happen. So I have a grand vision for that. But on the one-on-one level, just inspiring youth, particularly young men and women of short stature who don't see themselves as athletes, who view themselves, I can't be a basketball player, I can't be a football player. Who do I identify with? A gymnast, maybe a tennis player, but a jockey is a very unique male and female position that as an athlete, that I think has been underappreciated. So a lot of the young minority youth we talked to were just like, they couldn't get enough of this. They were like, I had no idea. I didn't even know this was happening. So maybe we try really hard to get some kind of an exhibit, or we bring in horses where youth can experience what it's like to be around a horse and to groom a horse or to learn about a horse, because animals are very therapeutic.
Oh, for
I'm not quite
sure.
sure. I see lots of things that could happen, but I'm starting with the teachers because if we get it into the curriculum, it covers history, it covers some sports, it covers English and social studies. So it has it really has a long draw in terms of academia and education that I think would tie a lot of things together. So, for example, the Emancipation Proclamation, a lot between that's when he rode. He rode after the Emancipation Proclamation and before the Jim Crow laws. There was a lot of He had a mansion in Lexington, he had amassed a lot of wealth. He was wildly successful as the most important sports figure in America. And I don't think a lot of folks realize that that little time in history, before the Jim Crow laws came along, there was a lot of opportunity. And it helps us to look at things now and maybe a different perspective. I don't know, I'm kind of getting off on tangent, but I think there's a lot of history to be learned that might help us, particularly youth, as we go forward with the next generation. And we can only hope, right?
Yeah, well, and I think you hit it on the head when you touched on all the areas. I mean, it's a wide breadth of things that it covers. With, I think most importantly, having children to look at something and be like, I can belong and I can persevere. If they face hardships, or like you said, they aren't the typical type of athlete or whatever, that it's a situation where they can relate to something maybe they never even thought that was not in their realm of thinking at all about, which I think is really
Exactly.
cool.
the other thing that makes our story unique, so when we shopped it in Los Angeles, they said, well, but there's the Muhammad Ali story, there's the Jackie Robinson story, and this is about riding for America. And it's very important to know that America's story is just as important. And that's one of the things I want to tell the Chicago public school kids is that this single mom, after her
Yeah.
husband died at war, was able to inspire her son to excellence and greatness. And her sacrifice means something. She was a hero herself for
Yeah.
what she was able to raise and the influence that she was able to have. And I think of so many single moms that don't see themselves as heroes, that don't see themselves as possessing the qualities of greatness that they have, you know? And I narrated a book during the pandemic. I audio narrated. If somebody wanted to Google it on Audible, I've audio narrated 10 books. And one of them is called The Ladder of Influence. And it talks about women. And it says in there that women kind of view themselves as like down the ladder from these men and these CEOs and high positions. But leadership is really not about holding a title. It's about influence. And think about your own lives, like who influenced you the most? Probably your mom had a huge influence. So it's a hero story for moms. And I think we need more of those too.
Absolutely. We are,
You're a mom,
man.
you know.
I am a mom. We are. We do need lots of
We don't get enough
it's a
credit, do we?
it's a dang hard job. I will say that. And I tell my mom that, like, gosh, you made it look easier than I don't know. It's to me, it's been I see you just made it look easy and it's awfully hard thing to do. So yes, cheers to moms everywhere.
Well,
That is
this
for
is
sure.
ladies' night, so
That's
hopefully
right.
there's ladies watching, and this is all about women empowerment. Then this is your story too. It's not just about the athlete. Oh, and the other thing in the back of this, there's a historical section that highlights all these great jockeys that won the first derbies. And then we have a section on female jockeys. And do you know that a woman could not ride in a major stakes race until after the civil rights law was passed? So when in 1965 they were granted the ability to actually be a jockey, and they were even more discriminated against than the men. I mean, than the men of color, like the African Americans. And women have been amazing jockeys. And if you think about it, you have to be very small of stature
Mhm.
and you have to keep your weight way down. And that's really unhealthy for a lot of larger men. But it isn't
Right.
necessarily unhealthy for petite women.
Right.
And petite women are great jockeys. So that's something else we talk about in here, how Isaac Murphy's story is empowering for women that want to be jockeys too, because they see themselves in the underdog and they see, hey, I could do that. I won't be at a disadvantage. I'm on a horse. I could be a jockey. And I think that's inspirational too.
Yeah, you don't have to be the biggest and the strongest when you're on the horse that is big and strong. You can just be the smart one that is the one that's guiding your horse, which is a really cool thing. So I'm going to tie back to the beginning when you were talking about just singing in all different types of places across our country and in other countries. I know you've sang the national anthem in many places, even for President Obama. Am I correct there? But you have not sang
And
in
my picture over here, can I bring it over?
you sure can. If I had a picture with Barack, I'd be bringing it over. It'd probably be tattooed on me somewhere. uh, that is a
I got to
fantastic.
sing this, the national anthem. I'm very proud of this. I told my family when I die, I mean, I want my family on the casket, but can you put this up there too? It's really morbid, but I want this up there. Anyway,
Yeah.
I do a lot of singing the national anthem for military, and I'll be singing it at the end of August in Tampa. I've sung it at Pearl Harbor. I've sung it for large events for the American Legion and some big political things, which is why I don't understand why I haven't been asked to do it by the White Sox. I mean, I've traveled all over, but I don't know who to talk to about that. Maybe you can help me with that.
Well, we will
But I've
see.
sung it. Oh, you would make me
We will
so happy. That would be like the
we will
bucket list.
see. I will reach out to some people and we will see what we can do, Nancy. You've
Oh,
just
that
done
would
so
be,
many
you have
wonderful
no
things.
idea. That would be, Melissa, you have no idea. Like that is a bucket list for me for my dad. I would just love that so much. And I'm capable of doing it. I have done it for presidents. I think I can do it for sports fans. But
Oh, no
oh, that's a
doubt.
good way to end because that would be the ultimate. I did get to meet the sportscaster. I got to meet him, that was so fun. The announcer. I got to meet him through your Twitter group
Oh, John,
recently.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
John
a
Triffin. I
cutie.
know he has been definitely a man of the people. I know he's quite a few times during the tailgates and stuff. He goes out there and I give him lots of credit for that because I mean he has a million other things he could be doing, let alone coming down and having a burger or brat with White Sox fans. So yeah,
He's
that
handsome,
he is
he's
handsome.
charismatic, and he's wonderful at his job. And that was so sweet. I got to take a picture with him, and I just thought that was really the cat's pajamas. I was really happy with that.
He's a dog dad
But
too.
is he? Oh,
He is a
well,
dog
I
dad,
love
yeah.
talking to you. I'm so thankful. Thank you for meeting up with me and caring about what I'm involved in. That means a lot.
Yeah,
Really
thank you
does.
so
Thank
much
you.
for sharing your story, and I'm excited to share it with others and bring some much needed attention to a really, really cool project. So thank you so much for joining us, Nancy, and we will be back
One more
soon.
thing.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say one more thing? If they
Yes,
want to know
absolutely.
about my music,
Oh yes.
nancyhayes.com without an E in Hayes. Check that out. If they want to learn the line dance, go to dancewithnancy.com. And I just want to say I'll be at Grant Park August 16th. That's a week from Saturday, 7 to 9 p.m. Spirit of the Music Garden, 112 East Balboa. And I'm going to be starting a dance series, line dancing and ballroom dancing, I think at the Athenaeum Theater. I just met with them today in the fall, potentially, or next winter. So stay tuned on that. We'll be doing some events that have to do with dancing and fun.
Well, lots of great things. I wish I had your energy, Nancy. My gosh. Gee, you're making me tired just talking to you. So
And
yes, be
it's
sure.
only one thing. I don't know what that comes from. I have no idea where that comes from. You ask my kids because they have no idea either. I drive them crazy. It's like, what are you doing now, Mom? Most people my age are retiring. I'm like, retirement, forget it. I can't afford to do that. But anyway, that's another story. I had too many children.
Yeah, I only
Melissa,
have two,
thank
so I'm
you.
hoping retirement's around the corner. So, okay, listeners, yes,
Well,
be sure to
enjoy a
follow
lot of White
Nancy.
Sox games. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And thank you so much for having me on. You're a doll. Thanks a lot.
All right, and we'll be back at you, White Sox fans, next week. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon.